and we put on a big event called the Jersey Gala to fundraise for scholarships for 4 of the boys who unfortunately lost their lives in a tragic bus crash. And that kind of gave me the push to, you know what, I can do this. I can make a business. I can plan events for people that aren't my employer. And then that's how Connected Events was born, really.
Welcome back to the Special Event Rentals podcast. I'm excited to be speaking with Hannah Chorneyko today. She is with Connected Events, and we are so pleased to have her here. Welcome, Hannah.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, we recently just did an event together. I mean, well, you planned it. We were at the rental community, and it was pretty spectacular.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a big event, and it was great to have you guys along to the ride.
Yeah. If any of you guys follow us on social media, we just released a reel that kind of goes through the aviation gala, which was driven for women in aviation.
That's right. Yeah. So held by Elevate Aviation. They're a not-for-profit. Their mandate really is to bring more women into the industry, very male-dominated industry, as you can imagine. And they throw this annual fundraiser, and it is a blast to plan and an amazing event.
Yeah, I feel like I just like looking back at it. It was so luxurious. Like, we're in a hangar. You're in a hangar. You change that into this like full-blown event for 400 people that is inspiring with all these different colors. And it was well done. Well done. So I'm super happy to have you and kind of pick your brain today. I would love to kind of chat about vendor and attendee etiquette today, and then just some hurdles that you, as a corporate event planner, go through daily, and how to I want to dive into some sponsorship questions and how to sustain sustainability there and all of that. So I guess I would love to start with just a little about and Connected Events.
Yeah.
I just like one of the things I ask most people on the podcast, but what brought you to events or this industry? What kind of got that hook and hasn't let you go yet?
Okay, I'm going to go way back. Okay, so when I've got to say probably 10, my grandparents were holding a family reunion, and they did a beer Olympics event. Yep. And so me and all the cousins, I decided to put on a kids Olympics. And that's where my passion, and it sounds funny because it was so long ago, I was 10 years old, but that's really where my passion for event planning started. And ever since then, I would be the one to always raise my hand to plan events like grad ski trip or things like that throughout my sort of adolescence. And then I went to school in the UK, in London. I worked there for a couple of years, always in a marketing role. But as you know, they often lump marketing and events together. So I was often in charge of putting on little events. And that's where my passion was. I loved it. Every time I was tasked with planning an event, I was thrilled. Fast forward to 2015, I moved back to Edmonton, here where I'm from. And I worked for a company called Regina Financial Solutions. I was their marketing manager, and I, again, planned all of their events. Eventually, I had volunteered for the St. Albert Humboldt Broncos Memorial Committee in St. Albert, and we put on a big event called the Jersey Gala to fundraise for scholarships for 4 of the boys who unfortunately lost their lives in a tragic bus crash. And that kind of gave me the push to, you know what, I can do this. I can make a business. I can plan events for people that aren't my employer. And then that's how Connected Events was born, really. And from there, I slowly grew and took on a few new clients every month or every year until eventually I could no longer do, my side gig and my full-time job. And I ended up leaving my full-time job. They're still an amazing client of mine today. But yeah,
that is... I feel like when you have the spark for events and you kind of collide the two worlds, it's really hard to separate. I feel like as a woman and as someone that loves to plan events and decor and all of that, it's just this industry just captivates you, and it doesn't let you go when you're also good at it.
Yeah.
And you have that clientele. How old is Connected Events?
it is about, so we're almost in 2025, 6 years old.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What was your first client? Was it the company you worked for?
Yeah, it was Ranger Financial Solutions. And so through them as well, we would plan this event called the Women in Wealth Gala. They eventually ended up rolling it out of Braintree into its own not-for-profit entity called Women in Wealth. But I took that on as well as as underconnected events, and still to this day, it's actually our 10th year anniversary next year, which you've been a part of it for a couple of years.
You're going to say, that's how our relationship with Women and Wealth and the decor and the SER partnership with Connected and Women's in Wealth. And so that's kind of how we got together. And you haven't got rid of me since.
No,
that's what was one of the most, event kind of set you apart in the industry, or kind of got word of mouth out there, or you kind of look back and say, that was the event that kind of took my career upwards?
I think it was the first Women in Wealth that I got to plan under connected events, and not just as an employee kind of doing it on the side of my desk where I had a ton of other projects going on. When I finally, I took full control of it. And we've since grown it. Like we started with 150 people, and it now, sells out or close to it at 800 to 1,000 people. Yeah. Every year. And I'm really proud of that. And I feel like that's kind of got my name out there as well. And I have been able to get, people come to me after the event and say, I'm running this event. Can you help? Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like Women's in Wealth, you said 1,200 people?
8 to we've had 1,200 before. It really depends.
Yeah. How, I feel like we were talking about this prior to the podcast, but how, if you are fully planning one of your corporate clients' events like Women in Wealth, do you take on the portion of marketing their event? Is that something like a la carte that people can opt into or not opt into? And how difficult is that? Because I feel like getting 800 people or 1,000 people together, buying tickets for a cause and getting them there, knowing that you want to donate money, I feel like that's challenging a little bit.
Yes, not easy. No, it's a lot of pressure. It is, yeah. So I something that kind of sets connected events apart from other planners is that I also have a marketing agency called Connected Creative, and oftentimes we work, hand in hand with clients. And so we can help them not only with just their event planning needs, but also their marketing and promotion. And so a few of our clients, Women in Wealth being one of them, we do all of their marketing and promotion as well. And, how do we get 800 to 1,000 people in a room? A lot of, repeat. So making sure that the attendees have a great time and they remember your event and they know they want to come back. A lot of our attendees are repeat clients. So we remind them through social media. Social media can be really helpful with events and email marketing as well. But another big thing is your speakers, who is attending, or your performers. Is it somebody that people want to see and want to hear from? Because that can have the biggest impact, I find, on attendance. And one example of that is for the Women in Wealth Gala, we had Jillian Harris. And what I call the Jillian Harris effect, she sold us out in a matter of days. That's crazy. Yeah. So it can have a huge impact on your event.
She was just here recently in Edmonton, staying at the Fairmont. I still know that. I saw that on social media. I was like, wait a second. I also think, speaking since we're on the topic of Women's in Wealth Gala, women are also a bit tricky to please.
Yes.
I mean, myself, and I feel like we're very complex. We're very emotional. We're very judgy or picky, I should say, or critical. That must be a challenge for you too when you're selling a bit of tickets.
For sure. Yeah. You're never going to please everyone. Nope. Right. It's never going to happen. So I kind of, the feedback is very helpful, because sometimes it is, you realize, okay, I should be doing it this way. This can be done this way. This will improve my event. And I have to say, I think with all of my events that I work with for more than 1 year, I always look for that feedback and that constructive criticism so that we can make it that much better the following year.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So do you do surveys after the event, kind of thing? And that goes out to all guests, but like everyone that's kind of a part of the event, to see what can be done next year?
Yeah. For most events, I would say the vast majority, we do a survey.
Yeah.
With corporate clients, if it's like an internal event, so say it's like employees, 100%, yeah, they will do a survey. And for ticketed events, we typically do too.
Yeah. I find, again, that I feel like that feedback is crucial because they do come back the next time and they were heard or whatever. I feel like that kind of, and is for sure the relationship between the party and the guests.
For sure. And I mean, things evolve and things change. So something that may have worked one year, there may be a better solution to have the following year. So it's always good to be adapting and growing and making sure that you're listening to your attendees. Yeah.
What would you say, kind of going back to what you were saying about the keynote speaker or the speaker is having that changed up and having someone that's popular that people want to see? Other than that, what would you say is an easy tweak to change up the gala each year? Because I find that could be challenging too. Like, sure, and I think you're in the same space each year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stage is in the same spot. You have round table, everything, like all the hard goods are there. What's a tip that you would have? Like, how else can you change that up?
For sure. Yeah. That's the case with a lot of of the events that I plan, because when you sign your venue, you kind of want to stick with it. You know, it works for you. So the theme and the decor is a big way that you can make changes that the guests will notice, which is really great working with you in special event rentals, because you always have some great ideas for ways that we can change things up and make it look different. That's all over there. That's a big one.
So you would say decor is impactful.
It is very impactful.
And people, like, they want to see it. They do care about the linens.
Absolutely.
Yes,
they do.
There are some Christmas parties we are planning right now, and there's a lot of people that are planning it that are not in that decor role or party role or, event organizers. They're like HR, and they come to me and they're just like, they don't care about that. And I'm like, that's all I care about. That's so much better. So thank you for saying that.
No problem.
So yeah, I feel like that is a struggle. It is and it isn't, I guess. I feel like with your vendors that you have in place, I feel like you trust them. You lean on them and on their innovations or their, new product or, their wheelhouse. So I think that kind of runs smoothly for you then with this gala specifically.
For sure. And that's huge for me. It's vendor partnerships. I have my vendors now who I love working with because I trust them. I know they're really good at what they do. I know they're going to give us a fair price. And so I struggle a little bit with swaying from that. So for example, if I have a client who has a vendor in mind, has a performer in mind, has a decor company in mind that they've used in the past, they want to use it. Of course, that's up to the client. It's their event. And so they get that final decision. But it's a struggle for me because I have been burned in the past where, a vendor doesn't show up. I've had that happen. A vendor did not turn up to an event and we had to pivot and it was a performer. So that was terrible. And so I really do, I value, and vendor partnerships are just so important to me.
Yeah. I feel like I touched base on this every episode. If you go back and watch them, the importance of a vendor relationship, and having your people around you that you support and trust. Going back to the aviation one, this was, if you're comfortable talking just about how SER got involved. I know that we have a relationship with the Women's and Wealth Gala and some other little things. This is the biggest project I've done with you. Mm-hmm. And I want to speak to how we got on board, kind of to the etiquette of vendors, is talking about when vendors maybe don't don't exceed your expectations or don't even meet them. I want to say too, back to what I was mind blanking about before, is whether it's your vendor or not, is a reflection of connected events, or whether the client was advocating for them or yeah. So that is tricky.
It's really tricky. Yeah. It's a fine line. And because regardless of whether or not they were your vendor or you brought them in, the event falls on you. And even if the client recommended that vendor, if something goes wrong, that still lies on you because, you are in charge of communicating with this vendor. So it just, again, it's really important to me to,
and I guess that's why they have you there too, is to take care of all the things. If a vendor doesn't show up, let's pivot, let's call someone else, let's get it done.
Yeah.
okay, I've juggled back and forth here for a couple seconds, but going back to the vendor relationships and how we partnered with you, or not partnered, or kind of, did this, the aviation together. It was great. What are some do's and don'ts of vendors? Why did this specific client want to go with a different vendor this time? Was it product? Was it, some faulty, like, if you're able to speak to a little bit about it, because I think it is important for people to understand that all vendors are different and everyone likes different vendors. And I kind of just want to speak to how we got involved.
For sure. I think specifically in this case, product selection. So your new line,
yes,
everyone, is beautiful. And it because we needed so much of it, where it's a hanger, it's an empty blank canvas. You have to bring literally everything in. And so with some other vendors, you're a little bit limited. And Special Event Rentals just had this absolutely beautiful line, and I wanted to bring it in. And with your help and recommendations, I think it turned, the client and I and guests were amazed.
So I guess what I'm hearing is the vendors that you have, I feel like they are progressing within the industry. They're not kind of stuck in time, or they are pouring into their business or their products, trying to make because I feel like if you're doing the event every year, we're also doing the event every year. So we have to kind of keep up with the times or bring in new products. So I feel like that's a big thing with vendors as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like staying current. And it's a big thing with production as well. Production World is who I typically use for AV, and they are always bringing in new product and coming up with new ways that we can wow our crowd, because otherwise it's the same thing over and over, like we were just talking about.
Yeah. I have 2 points to make about Production World. Let's talk about the stage that I saw at the aviation gala. That thing is really cool. So I feel like I knew that they had this stage. This stage is a trailer that opens up into a full-blown production.
Yeah.
That was really cool. I feel like it might be cost effective for some people. Because it's an all-in-one unit. And then my second point is kind of keeping up with all those price points as a vendor too. Like you have to be able to offer poly linens and then sequin linens to be able to work within people's budgets. So I think Production World is another really great vendor. And we'll use the stage again.
Okay, it's funny. I have mixed feelings about this stage. Heidi's all of us. And it was a point of back and forth with Production World on this event, because it's a great stage for, in my opinion, an outdoor event. However, going into a hangar, which is not meant for events, it's meant for airplanes. You don't have the capabilities that you do in somewhere like Haldi, where you can hang a lot of your trucks. And so it ended up, they prettied it up a little bit, and I like it. And it's a cool stage, okay?
I'll give it. It was a really cool stage. I feel like once it was up and all the decor was on, your lights were down, you would never know that was a friggin' trailer.
That's it. The planner will notice, but nobody else.
No. Yeah. I mean, and we take everything to heart too. Like we are our own, our biggest critic for sure. I will say though, it took so many people to put that thing up. You think it's like this easy process. I feel like there was 15 men all around that thing, leveling it out, opening it up, stopping. It was pretty cool to watch. It was one of my highlights during install, because I've heard about these stages, but I've never actually seen it come in a box and then open up and be lifted and all of these things. And then they just drag it away. That is so cool. Anyways, good job, Production World. Shout out to you guys. So let's pivot a little bit here. I love all of the advice that you've been giving us on corporate events, but I also want to acknowledge you're 38 weeks pregnant.
I sure am. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What are you having?
I'm having a girl.
I'm having a baby girl. And you, correct me if I'm wrong, you have a 2-year-old?
I do, yeah. I have a 2-year-old boy named Jack at home.
My goodness, yeah, we're really busy. Christmas is coming up. Are you prepared?
No, but that's okay.
You will last minute Christmas?
Yeah, I have Black Friday.
Yeah, 2 days. Let's get it done. Did you find it's just easier? Because I can Christmas shopping, I can overthink things. I can buy them, a month in advance, return it 8 times.
Yeah, no, I have a list. I'm ready to go on Friday. I'm not joking. I'm doing all my Christmas shopping online on Black Friday.
And it's just, that's it.
Lift it up.
Good for you. I'm the same way. Good. How is it to be a mom in our industry?
It is, okay, I'll start by saying I'm very lucky. My husband is a stay-at-home dad. Okay? So I have lots of support. He's amazing. He looks after Jack. Jack doesn't go to daycare. He's staying home. Adam, good job. Shout out to Adam. And I work. So I don't take maternity leave. I'll probably take, a week or two off and then just be, slow down for the next couple of months, not take on any events. I did my last event about a week and a half ago. And that was a challenge. Other case things week pregnant. But it's this industry is great because it does allow you to do both, right? I've got flexibility. I get to be there for my son. I don't miss out on anything. But I also get to do my job, which I love. Yeah, I love working. I can't imagine taking a week off work. I don't know. I hope that doesn't make me sound like a bad mom.
Oh, Hannah, I'm with you. I feel like I was more worried about having a year of maternity leave with baby and not being able to use my creative mind or be involved some way. So I hear you loud and clear.
Yeah.
And I think most people, event planners, that's what they do. That's just the norm. I do see some challenges though with it. For sure, there's a lot of, I feel like there's always a balance. For sure, when we're busy, and then our kids don't get much of you.
Yeah, and I do a lot of out-of-town events. Like I do probably 3 or 4 out-of-town events a year, conferences. And that's hard, and especially now because he understands. And so the phone calls are often end in tears, and it's like pulling on my mommy heartstrings.
Mommy heartstrings are real. They're there.
Yeah.
And then you also have the corporate heartstrings that also pull at you. And I feel like a lot of times you could speak to this too, but when you're busy, you're really balancing a lot.
Yeah.
You're really juggling and you can get really worn down really quickly, like physically, mentally. But then the cons are when it's not as busy, you get all the time in the world, it seems.
100%. There is big ups and downs with events. And, leading up to a big event, you're working sometimes like 18 hours a day. But then, after that, but when you have a little bit of a lull, you get to be home and you get to spend that quality time with them. So yeah, there's a balance.
So is it hard being a mom in our industry?
Yes and no.
Because most of the time I work with and know they all are, they have kids.
Yeah.
And it seems to all be working for them. And I have 2 myself, but there's at times it's just like, it's heavy. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
To take care of yourself.
Totally. Yeah. I think it's a lot to be a working mom, no matter what.
Yeah.
But yeah, our industry, it's chat.
Because it was like the late night pickups. You wish you could be there. You're on your feet. You can't really, it's not like you can pick up FaceTimes all the time.
No.
And you're needed. And then you go home and you're needed.
Yeah.
And then there's other days it's like, oh, this is easy. I get to take you to your doctor's appointments. I get to take you to the park. We can do this all day, every day. Yeah. So yeah, I feel like there's a tug and pull, but I do think this industry really is women driven or a little bit. So I feel like it's really nice to have a community that you can rely on or other planners and kind of, chat it out when you're down there.
Yep.
Yeah. 38 weeks, Hannah.
2 weeks.
Well, congratulations. And I hope everything goes well on your end.
Thank you.
Yeah. I guess, where do you want to go? Where do you want to touch base on? I have a couple questions in mind of like do's and don'ts with vendor etiquette.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of just speaking on that. I feel like there's a lot of vendors we've touched base on like lighting and we've touched base on rentals, but haven't really touched base on caterers and, if there's balloons coming in and your speakers and all of that. So I guess, who do you work the most with when you're planning? Is it production or AB? Is it rentals? Is it catering? And I guess, what are some do's and don'ts that you would love to see with vendors?
Okay. I mean, who do I work with the most?
Who's the most challenger? Who's the biggest aspect?
Probably, yeah. Okay, that's a good question. Probably AB, honestly, because that their run of show and making sure that the program that people are coming to watch goes as smoothly as it possibly can. Mm-hmm. If they're not prepared, that can completely ruin your event, right? And so making sure, to me, what's really important is steady communication. So I've worked with production companies that never reply to me. And that's, that makes me panic because I'm like, are you prepared? I don't know if you're prepared. So making sure that, they're in constant communication with me or answering my emails, that's really important.
It's that relationship you're trying, like with new AV, that's sure. Yeah, like goes
right back to that relationship and that.
And the red flags, it's an actual relationship.
It is.
See red flags.
Oh, yeah.
You have to work out, you have to compromise, you have to budget. Like that's a real relationship.
Yeah.
So, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it does go for all vendors as well. If you have a vendor that you've booked, you're waiting for a response, they're leaving you hanging, they're ghosting you.
Yeah.
You don't like that. That's not what we want to see. So
yeah, and I feel like I guess AV would be the biggest aspect because they are putting on the show.
They're putting on the show.
Like they're lighting up your decor, they're lighting up your stage, they're making sure your speakers are there, music's off, videos on. Like that is very timed, I would assume.
For sure. And like to the minute, a second. They're showing videos at the right time. They're showing photos at the right time. Like it really can make or break your event.
And I guess the more experience, I mean, I'm just rambling, but the more experience they would have in the role with then if something goes wrong on stage, they can pick up real quick. They're like, okay, she needs to get off stage or he needs to do this or whatever. Yeah, for sure. That is crazy. Production to me is something I don't ever deal with.
Yeah.
I just reap the benefit of it. Like me showing up to an event or me going there and they're usually done everything before our team goes in. But I feel like there's so much planning with them. So much. There's so much back and forth. When I see like some events that have all of these like multiple speakers, multiple videos, people going up on stage, accepting awards, then you have entertainment. I just like, how does this happen?
Yeah. Constant communication and clear run of show, clear rehearsals are huge.
Yeah. And how many, I guess, when does the rehearsal happen? The day out?
It's usually the day of or the day prior.
Okay, which would make sense if it's fresh in everyone's mind. How many runs do you usually do?
Until you get it right. Until you get it right, yeah. Yeah. And sometimes you don't even have time. So it's like,
then you gotta pivot. And I guess another challenge is then enter all your speakers. So how does that work? Are they in the email chain? Is that something that you just provide like?
It depends on the speaker. So if you're hiring a speaker through a speaker's agency, which I often do, you have 1 30-minute prep call with them, a week or two in advance, and that's it. And then they don't want to, it's just not part of their contract. They're not going to do a rehearsal. So you just expect that they're professionals and they've done this, lots of times before and they're not going to mess it up. But otherwise, if you have a speaker that's not as prepared, they're not a professional speaker, it's not what they do for a living, that rehearsal is crucial, in my opinion. You have to. Even just getting comfortable on a microphone. Like a lot of them aren't, right?
Yes. So even just like this, I don't think
exactly.
It's intimidating to be in front of a camera and not have a mic. And like I definitely hear you on that.
Yeah.
Something we were talking about prior to going on our podcast here was the sticker shock value of AV and some of these vendors and how real that is, and how I want to speak to like how corporations don't anticipate the cost, number one, and how the cost has even grown after COVID. I don't even like using COVID, but I feel like Edmonton specifically is now in a good place again. We are spending money. We are doing all these lavish events. We have this elaborate budget, but that elaborate budget is sometimes still not even covering just basics.
So true. Yeah, I often find with clients who don't regularly hold events or haven't in a while, you bring them pricing for things like AV, even decor.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And they just don't believe you. They're like, no, this can't be right. It's expensive. It is. And budgeting is so important. So that's another thing that we typically like to help our clients with, because we can provide them with an accurate estimate. Before we start getting those quotes, I can give them a range so that they know what to expect. Because otherwise, they budget $5,000 for a 400-person gala for AV. That's just unfortunately not going to get you even close.
How do you deal with clients that really can't wrap their head around price. Like, how does that work? Do you just not have the event? Do you pivot to like a restaurant? Like how does that work?
Yeah. It's a challenge for sure. Yeah. You can only do so much. I'll bring them multiple quotes so that they can see that, it's not just one company. And then if you have to pivot, you have to pivot. If you have to change venue to go to a smaller space, you should do that.
Yeah. I feel like I see it here so often where brides come in and they have a budget in mind. Even if you go online, like online is still crazy. It doesn't give you the true representation of what you're going to be spending.
Yeah.
Like it's just impossible, especially when you're dealing with AV and rentals. But basically it's expensive, and I just see people's faces sometimes and I'm like, oh no, did I just lose a sale? And it's like, oh, okay, well, you don't have to go with the clear span. We can do like, you know what I mean? It's
sure. There's a range.
There is a range, but I also love how you start off with the range. I feel like that is very clear intentions.
Yeah.
Of like, if you can make if that budget works, and let's keep talking.
Yeah. For sure.
I was just getting a lighting quote on the SCR building just for some track lighting, and that's what she said, and I just loved that tactic. It's like, let me give you an estimate over the phone. If you're comfortable with that, I'll come out and give you an actual quote.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, no one's wasting any time here.
Exactly. It gives people an idea of what to expect. And of course, there is going to be that it's going to vary. And you're going to get what you paid for.
Yeah.
So if the range starts at $5,000 and goes to $25,000, you just better be prepared that the difference in end product is going to be significant if you go with the $5,000 option as opposed to a $20,000.
Yeah, I get it. And that's another thing to navigate.
Yes.
I like expectation for sure. Decor, of AV.
Yeah, I like you see that all the time with decor, especially.
Well, yeah, and I bet you say that all the time, and you're in it, and you're the one always dealing with it. I just feel like there is such a range, and I truly believe in today's age that you do get what you pay for.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, and labor costs are really, I feel like they're eating most of your budgets.
Oh yeah,
on every quote.
Oh yeah, labor costs are. Yeah, but the labor is high though. Yeah, and like there's so much to unpack there, right? Because life is so expensive, and so workers need to be paid a fair wage, and so ultimately that just ends up costing the client more. But it sort of just is the way that it is.
Yeah, and I guess that also the expectation of just like you get what you paid for too.
Yeah, for sure.
If you don't get set up and take down chairs,
who's doing it?
Who's doing it?
Yeah, exactly.
Is it you?
Yeah,
or is it?
I know. I gotta say, I always push for the setup and take down of chairs with clients. Doesn't always happen.
Isn't that crazy? I 9 times like said, if a client opts to do it themselves, they usually call us and say, "Okay, is there any way?"
Especially to take down.
Is there any way? It's like, well, let me make this happen for you.
Yeah. I often find that clients are very sure that all their volunteers will stay after the gala to help take down chairs. And then you get to the end of the gala and everybody's gone.
Where are the volunteers? Volunteers.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a whole other aspect to manage.
Yeah.
Because they're volunteers.
Yeah.
So I have, in my experience with volunteers, it's hit or miss. Some are really great, but they are volunteers. So they kind of just do their own thing.
Yeah.
They'll set up a couple of centerpieces and then go for that. That must be a little bit hard when you're planning. I feel like Women's in Wealth, do they have some volunteers?
Yeah.
Because they sometimes opt for a setup and take down.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's because of this whole thing, right? It's hard because with not-for-profits, which a lot of the events that I do are not-for-profit, so we're fundraising for their charity or for their not-for-profit, right?
Yeah.
So we want to keep the cost as low as possible to make sure that we're, fulfilling what we're doing, what we've set out to do. Okay, so adding those little extras is difficult for both the client and for me. I see it. But on the other hand, exactly how, volunteers, they're volunteering their time. You can't make them stay. They're volunteering their time. And so often it's difficult. And sometimes you get volunteers who will say that they're going to attend and then they don't show up. So always being one step ahead prepared for that is important. Making sure that you always have more volunteers than what you think you need because you'll need them.
Yeah. I just find that's either anytime anyone offers SDR volunteers, I feel like it either goes one way or the other. It's either great or it's an extra added layer of complexity and problem solving and trying to get the job done.
Yep.
So I don't know. Yeah, I like them and I don't.
Yeah.
And I do agree with you as well, you want to give back the most when you're not a share profit. So I do see when costs are there.
Yeah.
It makes sense to know we'll take on that cost. Yeah, they'll do this. I'll get volunteers. So I completely understand that. Hannah, it's our 40th year as of 2025. What do you think we should do for our 40th anniversary? There's so many ideas. The owner, especially of Rentals, Hannah, he is a low-key guy.
Okay.
You would think that he loves parties, but I feel like he does, but his own parties. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So something like low-key, but big enough that it's like showy. Any suggestion?
I don't know. What should you do? You should have a party here.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Throw a party here. You have all of the decor.
You could ask for all of the decor.
You have lots of vendors. You have excellent planners.
Yes. Oh, gosh, here to plan it. I want to do, I don't know, a walk down memory lane. I feel like 40 years is a long time to be in Edmonton.
It is.
And serving events. And we have so many great clients that have always, like yourself, like they're so loyal and we have great relationships with a lot of people in Edmonton. And this building is so iconic. Like, if you're in the event industry, I'm not saying that. Actually, you know what? They might. Because normally when I say I work at specialty event rentals in just everyday life, they're like, oh, my daughter got my rentals from you. I know where you are. You're in 99th Street. So I feel like, anyways, a walk down memory lane could be kind of fun. I just don't know how to do it.
For all different eras of special memory.
That was fun.
Yeah,
because it were trends. I just feel like, it's a fun time. It's going to be a fun year. And I can't wait for more years to come. But the party, when I call it my party, I need your help. I want to end with, thank you so much for being here, but I want to end with, if you could host your own event with an unlimited budget, where would you host it? How many people would be there? And what is your color scheme?
Oh, okay. Do you know what's funny? I'm going through a rebrand right now. We're rebranding Connected Creative. And so all I've been looking at today is color schemes. So
love that.
But for an event though, I don't know. This is a really tough one. What do I do? Do you know what I would love to do? And this is not my own party, but I would love to plan or be part of planning like a big awards, like the Oscars, like not the Oscars, but something like that.
Like the Junos,
something like that. Just to have a bit of, a hand in helping out with an event like that. I would love it. That's the dream for one day.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the colors?
I can't tell you. Wait until you see it.
Okay. Can you tell me anything about colors? If you could do an event right now, would you choose black or white?
I'm very into like the black, gold.
That's me too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Right now I don't know if it's the holidays or what, but that's sort of my color scheme of choice. I'm kind of finding myself bringing golds into all of my events recently.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, gold. Do you know Lars Erickson?
No.
Okay. So he is my colleague here at Specialty Event Rentals. He is a silver type guy. I am a gold type girl. And when I bring in product, everything is gold. And he tells me all the time, that is the worst mistake you could make. If gold is going to come out and silver is going to be always here. And I disagree with that. I think gold is a staple. I think women love gold. I think men love gold. I think it's your go-to choice of metallic.
Agreed.
Listen in, Lars, but gold. He's coming around these days. It's coming around. Anyways, Hannah, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you letting us be a part of the aviation. I think we got some really good content. We're going to share more content on that. And until next time, I hope you'll come back. And Merry Christmas and congratulations again.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yes, come back anytime.
Thanks for tuning into the Special Event Rentals podcast. Here, you'll find exclusive interviews, expert tips, and behind-the-scenes insights, diving into the dynamic world of event rentals and planning. Enjoy! Subscribe to never miss an episode.